because Saturn can aspect 10 signs from himself. So when Jupiter moves into Cancer, he's actually moving into getting affected by Saturn. So that could mean that, so Jupiter rules growth, essentially. It's growth and expansion. So it could be that when Saturn starts looking at Jupiter for that period of time between June and November, that we might feel a little bit of a contraction as far as wherever it is that we're growing might feel like it suddenly stops. And we might find some obstacles in our way, and the economy, maybe the economy will be affected a little bit by that in general. Saturn is really in charge of truth as well. Sometimes exposes truth. So if there are things that are covered up, and it's a karma thing, Saturn's not going to let anything go by. He sees everything that everybody does and will call you forth on it at some point or another. So it could be that Saturn affecting Jupiter might bring some things out that maybe slows the growth of things or exposes some truth, maybe about economic things or whatever that might be painful in the short run, but could promote a more solid foundation for things. I mean, it seems like the way our world is it's a little bit riding on some unstable principles, I think. As far as my human perspective goes, it seems like a lot of our great systems and governments and things like that, there's a lot of corruption and things like that. So maybe Saturn will shed some light on that. So it'll be an interesting dynamic between Saturn and Jupiter this year. Jupiter's affecting Saturn now, and then they're going to turn around, and Saturn's turn, and then November it's going to turn around again. So anyway, so those are the major trends. I feel like they're, and it's a lot about shifting between growth and really expansion and contraction. Jupiter is very expansive, Saturn is very contractive. So we might feel like even in our personal lives, like we're growing and things are good right now, and then maybe come summertime we might feel like that switches a little bit. We stop, we are quiet and decide we need to pull back or change directions, or maybe obstacles will come up for us that we don't, obstacles are never fun, but there's always Ganesh to pray to, so there's that. But, so those are that's really what the outer planets are doing this year. That's the main theme. So we have all three outer planets moving signs. I mean, Jupiter moves signs every year. It stays for a year in each sign. But we have Jupiter and the Rahu-Ketu axis moving and Saturn moving. So, I think throughout this year there's going to be some general shifting of things. So maybe in a less chaotic fashion than last year. So that might be good. So that said, there's a couple other things that happen regularly on an annual basis because of Rahu and Ketu, and those are eclipses. Eclipses always come in pairs. There will be an eclipse on a full moon and then a new moon, because it's when the sun and moon get into the region where Rahu and Ketu are. So this year we'll have two sets of eclipses. In April we'll have one set, in October we'll have one set. Eclipses can be kind of, things can happen around eclipse times too that are intense. Eclipses have the ability to stop the light of the sun and the moon, and so that symbolically, it's like swallowing the light of our great luminaries. So it can often mark points, especially in a personal chart, where something intense might happen. So the first set will happen in the Libra Aries axis, because Rahu and Ketu will still be there. So people who have Aries and Libra prominent in their charts, might experience some events during April. So April 15th and April 29th. April 15th is a total lunar eclipse. And it's going to be very visible, actually, astronomically. It's fun to watch eclipses, I think. And so for both North and South America, we'll be able to see this total lunar eclipse. And then there's a solar eclipse in Aries in April 29th. And that's going to be a strange one. Actually, you'd have to be sort of in Antarctica to really see that one. So, or as Antarctica or Australia is sort of the southern hemisphere, sort of the bottom of our planet, well, southern part of our planet. And then October, we're going to have two more. October 8th is another lunar eclipse. It's full. And Pacific Ocean, we'll see that completely. Like Hawaii and places like that, we'll be able to see that one. And then October 23rd. And the October 23rd one is a partial eclipse. It's not going to be a full-on one. However, I did read that it will be, you'll be able to see it from Canada and the US. So those are always fun, to actually see solar eclipses when the sun gets dark. So anyway, you can just watch around those dates, the April 15th, April 29th, October 8th, October 23rd. Could have some events happening during that time. The other night, somebody asked me about Mercury retrograde, so I thought I'd give you those dates, just in case you want to not plan trips or weddings or opening up a business or things like that. So there's 3. Every year we get 3 Mercury retrograde periods, and they're about 3 weeks each. So the first one is February 6th to the 28th. So everybody mark that in your mind, 6th to the 28th. June 7th to July 1st, the second one, and then October 5th to the 25th. So anyway, just good to note. Don't do anything big. So I cast a chart for the ashram at when we were all up celebrating last night at midnight. So I made the chart for that. And it made me see that Mars is going to be really, I think that Mars is going to be a sort of a forceful planet this year. So Mars is the planet of power and drive, and in a worldly sense, it can be military and violence and heavy stuff like that. But it's also technology and farming, and without Mars, we wouldn't have many of the things we have that help us survive. In the chart, though, it was Mars was just rising, and its strength was really, really great, and actually still is right this very moment. And then I noticed I went through the whole year, and for each planet, and I'm not going to tell you exactly all the little dirty details because that would take all night long. But I noticed that Mars, throughout the year, he starts out strong, like today, and then by New Year's Eve of 2014, he gets to his point of exaltation, like exactly on that night. So it's like he's bringing in the year strong and finishing it out strong. And for the ashram, for this location, he happened to be in the rising sign and affecting the kind of casting his gaze on the moon and sun. Which actually there was a new moon just after we wound down last night. So Mars I think is going to be someone to watch this year. So Mars likes to go. He likes to drive and go forward doesn't always think of the consequences of his actions and just goes. And consequently, when he interacts with Saturn, it can be kind of frustrating. Because Saturn is very careful and very slow and very reticent. And Mars is very forceful and likes to go. And so we have a time when Mars is going to be actually sort of two different times. Right now, Mars is in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is the sign that comes before the sign of Libra. So pretty soon here, Mars is going to join Saturn and Rahu. And I'm a little worried about it. You are worried, Mara? Yeah. Yeah. It's a little worrisome. At least Jupiter will be looking the first time when he goes in. So pretty much February and March, Mars is going to be moving into Libra with Saturn and Rahu. So what could that mean? I mean, Rahu is that demonic, chaotic, hungry, worldly, stirring up energy, chaos. And Saturn is that strong pressure and it really doesn't have much regard for comfort. And then Mars comes in. Mars isn't necessarily friendly with Saturn either. They just don't get along. They have different philosophies. I was saying today in class, it's like driving with the brakes on. Mars wants to go, Saturn puts the brakes on. Can feel very uncomfortable. So, you know, that's February, March. It could be a little rough, you know, a little choppy, because Saturn and Rahu are still going to be there. And, you know, I don't know what to say. It'll only be at least, you know, those 2 months that all of those three are together. Because the first week in March, actually the first day of March, Mars will go into a retrograde cycle. So he'll slowly start receding back into the sign of Virgo. And he retrogrades for like 2.5 months. So he'll be, you know, he's actually going to be moving back out. He'll just give us a taste of his energy and inside the Saturn and Rahu combination, and then he goes back out, back into Virgo. See, what else does he do? Oh yes. Okay, then it gets exciting because he's back in Virgo. Okay, Saturn and Rahu are still in Libra, but then you know Rahu is by the way also like moving backwards. Like I said, he's naturally retrograde all the time, so he's going to be moving into Virgo on July 12th. Rahu and Ketu will move their signs on July 12th. So actually, he gets to go back into Virgo and we'll meet Mars there. So also I'm a little worried about that. What will that be like? It's and actually happens right at the borderlands between Virgo and Libra. So Rahu moves in, Mars is moving back and forward motion again. They're going to meet right at that border, and then Mars will move back into Libra. So I'm looking at that time, July, like around the middle of July, because I think that'll be really kind of intense with Mars and Rahu, with especially in that sort of, they're both sort of changing signs as well. Rahu's going in, Mars is moving, and so we could find ourselves shifting at that time. I mean, maybe if you're going to move, that would be a good time.